Well, good morning, friends and family, and welcome to our Tuesday, September 24th edition of the Walking with Jesus devotional. Today we are on page 43 of our reader, and we are reading about Jesus teaching about tree and its fruit. And we have two readings, one from Matthew and one from Luke, Matthew 7 and Luke 6. Matthew 7 verses 15 through 20 says, "Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit, that is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into a fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions." And then Luke 6:43 through 45. "A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. A tree is identified by its fruit. Figs are never gathered from thorn bushes, and grapes are never picked from bramble bushes. A good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart." So a couple of things. One is, truthfully, Jesus is saying it's easy to identify who is truly his disciples by those who do good deeds. Doesn't mean that our good deeds earn us heaven. It doesn't mean that our good deeds earn us salvation. It doesn't mean that our good deeds earn us anything. It simply is they are an outflow of what's already in our heart. If the Holy Spirit resides in our heart, he fights for us, he fights on our behalf, and he helps us to become the people that God intended for us to be. But in order to live that kind of life, we first must invite the Holy Spirit in. The reality is what you store in your heart, the things you pine after in your heart, that's going to identify who you are and what kind of person you are. And your actions will flow from that identity. Now, maybe you've had a great identity and you just need to stay the course. Keep pushing in. Or maybe you've not necessarily had as good of an identity as what you'd like. Maybe the fruit you've produced is not as good as what you'd hoped. Well, I believe this passage is calling us to pursue God first. Put Jesus first, and we can produce good fruit. I hope that that's a good word for you today, and I hope that you have a blessed week on this Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.